It is happening. The FIA's president Mohammed Ben Sulayem will step back from direct participation in Formula One, according to the governing organisation. Ben Sulayem has been at the centre of a rising scandal in the F1 off-season, as long-standing tensions between the FIA and F1 have begun to emerge. And now, the FIA consider that the situation is not healthy anymore and changes are needed. There have been disagreements over issues such as expanding the F1 grid, with the president's desire to add new teams such as Andretti Cadillac not met with the same enthusiasm from F1 and its existing teams, and revisions to the International Sporting Code, which some have argued violate drivers' free speech. Ben Sulayem has personally been in the spotlight for comments he's made about the Andretti bid, and the emergence of an archived 2001 version of his website in which he was quoted as saying he did not like women who think they're smarter than men, for they are not in truth. Remarks that the FIA said did not reflect his beliefs. In the view of commercial rights holder Liberty Media, he also crossed a line by publicly discussing reported interest in purchasing F1, prompting a letter from F1/Liberty Media legal chiefs urging Ben Sulayem and the FIA to not intervene in such issues. During the winter, the FIA also completed a restructure of its F1 management, which Ben Sulayem initiated a long time ago. The process was just completed with FIA single-seater technical chief Nicholas Tombazis appointed as single-seater director, as well as the entrance of longtime F1 man Steve Nielsen as sports director. According to the FIA, the inevitable next step from this was for Ben Sulayem to be less actively involved in the day-to-day Formula One business, implying that it was planned, while others are already viewing it as a reaction to recent events that implies he would intervene less. Tombazis will have additional F1 authority as the director of the revamped single-seater department, according to a letter addressed to teams, while recently appointed CEO Natalie Robin will have larger duties for the FIA's operation. Ben Sulayem will remain involved in key decisions and strategic matters, the FIA says, but spend more time focusing on his wide remit that covers the breadth of global motorsport and mobility as president. Although, for us, the fans, it feels like Ben Sulayem is being sent down the ranks, the FIA itself stated that the intention to do this has always been there. A spokesman for the Motorsport Federation reveals in a statement to various media that even before Ben Sulayem's appointment, it had been decided that the president would at some point step down from some of his duties. The president's manifesto clearly set out this plan before he was elected. Ben Sulayem notified the teams this week in a letter that he will be less involved in the day-to-day activities. The FIA only verified the story after it had spread through British media. So Ben Sulayem is leaving the day-to-day Formula One job. Who will replace him and what can we expect? As said earlier, Nicholas Tombazis will take over from Ben Sulayem. Tombazis was recruited as director of single-seaters on January 18th this year, following 5 years in charge of the technical side of single-seaters. He took that step after a long career in Formula One as an aerodynamics specialist for Ferrari, McLaren and Benetton, among others. His long F1 career began with Benetton in 1989. Athens-born Tombazis graduated from Trinity College at Cambridge University with an engineering degree. 3 years later, he earned a PhD in aeronautical engineering from Imperial College London, putting him on the Benetton F1 team's radar. The next year, he joined the British racing stable as an aerodynamics specialist, eventually rising to the position of head of aerodynamics little under 2 years later. Tombazis was a member of a highly successful time in which Michael Schumacher won his first 2 world titles, and Benetton won the Constructors' title in 1995. In 1997, he followed Schumacher, who had left for Ferrari a year before. The Greek was named head of aerodynamics and CFD at the Italian racing stable. Again, Tombazis was instrumental in the enormous success that followed. Ferrari won the Constructors' title for the first time in 16 years in 1999, and Schumacher won the first driver's title for the Scuderia a year later, since Jody Scheckter in 1979. This marked the start of an era in which Ferrari dominated, winning 6 Constructors' titles in a row and seeing Schumacher become champion 5 times in a row. Tombazis departed the team at its pinnacle in 2004 to join McLaren. He proceeded to work as the head of aerodynamics there as well, although his time in Woking was brief. Tombazis departed the British racing stable again at the end of 2005 and returned to Maranello as head designer. He was with the Italian racing stable for 9 years before leaving at the conclusion of 2014. A year later, he joined Manor Racing, but the transfer was a failure. Due to financial issues, the squad was no longer visible in the sport. Following Manor's demise, Tombazis chose to start his own consulting business and teach aerodynamics as a guest professor at Imperial College London, where he was formerly a student. In 2018, he joined the FIA, where he was assigned in charge of single-seater technical affairs. He was elevated to his current position as Director of Single-Seaters after 5 years. In addition to that promotion, Tombazis will be responsible for a variety of tasks during the 2023 Formula 1 season. One thing that has happened over the winter break that surely triggered the decision to let Ben Sulayem step down were the new rules about free speech for the drivers. And even though the FIA seems to want to silence the drivers, the F1 organization itself doesn't want to go that far. Formula 1 CEO Stefano Domenicali insists that the sport will never put a gag on anyone, in the face of the recent FIA clampdown on drivers speaking out. He also stated that he anticipates the FIA clarifying exactly what the new judgment implies. The FIA made a change to the International Sporting Code for 2023, banning comments on political, religious, or personal issues without obtaining prior permission from the governing body. Due to the winter break, few drivers have publicly commented on the news. However, as media activity has increased in recent days, numerous drivers have expressed their discontent with the situation. Domenicali sought to disassociate himself with the FIA decision in an interview with The Guardian newspaper, saying that the F1 organization itself chose a more liberal attitude. F1 will never put a gag on anyone, said the Italian. Everyone wants to talk, so to have the platform to say what they want in the right way, the better it is. We have a huge opportunity because of the position of our sport, which is more and more global, multicultural and multi-valued. We're talking about 20 drivers, 10 teams and many sponsors. They have different ideas, different views. I cannot say one is right, one is wrong, but it is right, if needed, to give them a platform to discuss their opinions in an open way. We will not change that approach as a sport. That should be the line of our sport, to give everyone the chance to speak in the right way, not with aggressive tones or to offend, but with respect. Domenicali stated that he's been in constant contact with the drivers about the situation. I had a discussion with the drivers about this last year, he said, about how F1 could be a platform to have a spotlight on certain things we believe are right to talk about. F1 should help the drivers if they want to discuss certain subjects. It is important to have a very constructive dialogue. If this is not happening, it can create either confusion or problems where there need not be problems. We keep monitoring the situation, we keep the drivers informed, we meet with the GPDA to discuss it. How we can allow the drivers to be open as human beings in our sport. Athletes can be very emotional and passionate about some things, and they need to discuss that constructively with people they trust. Domenicali emphasized that he expects the FIA to provide a more extensive explanation of what the new rules involve, and hence what it truly means for drivers. We are talking about a regulation, and the regulator is the FIA, he said. I believe the FIA will clarify what has been stated in terms of respecting certain places where you cannot do it. I'm sure the FIA will share the same view as F1, but they're part of an Olympic federation, so there are protocols to which they have to abide. So what do you think? Is the decision to replace Ben Sulayem a good one? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.